welcome back to another episode of HeroTalk, the mostly weekly podcast from Rooter Hero Plumbing and Air. I'm David. I'm one of the hosts here. And with me, as always, is...
Cat!
And together, we're
on the attack. Sorry guys, I have a halls in my mouth, so that was a little hard for me to say.
Okay, all right. Starting the podcast with your mouth full. It's fine, we just had a potluck.
We did.
Yep.
Did you enjoy the potluck?
I ate my plate in 3 minutes because I got my plate 4 minutes before I had to go into a meeting. So,
what did you get from the potluck? You don't remember?
There was pizza and potato salad and jalapenos. So yeah, and then sliders, but yeah, wolf those down. I'll go back for a second plate so I can actually taste it. I kind of just went, and then I didn't want to be late to the meeting since, it was my meeting.
And then you have another meeting after this.
Yep.
So David's just a busy bee.
Yep. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I hate meetings. Hate them.
But you get them done to where you only talk about what you need.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's some people that do meetings and
yeah, it's just...
they're very unnecessary.
Yeah, it's just a social hour.
Yeah.
Most meetings can be whittled down to 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything longer than 30 minutes is kind of a waste of time. So, except for the big strategy meetings, and even those can be shortened to what they actually are.
30 minutes max.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
well, David has a meeting, so we're going to go through this episode quick.
Yep.
What are we talking about today, David?
I wanted to talk about call center metrics for trades companies.
Okay.
So, if you're listening to this podcast, you know exactly what a trades company is. If you don't know what that is and you're just listening to it because you follow Cat or I on LinkedIn and you want to show your support, first of all, love you. Second, trades call centers, they handle the calls for plumbing, HVAC, electrician, carpentry, roofing, whatever, garage door companies, right? So the trades, the home services, and most home service companies have a call center. Some of them have massive call centers. Some of them have 1 or 2 people. It's not really a call center, but they still call it that. And then others have a medium-sized call center, which is what we have.
Yeah, I was I feel like we're medium.
Yeah, we're medium. The bigger the call center, usually the more waste is in the call center. And by waste, I mean wasted time or people just sitting around waiting for calls to come in, right?
True.
So, which is waste because, once a company gets to a certain size, it's kind of inescapable, right? They stop running lean and they go to lengths where... People fighting outside? Okay.
I hear that.
Yeah. So...
They're fighting over the leftovers.
It is what it is. I just hope there's some pineapple and jalapeno pizza left. But once a company gets to a certain size, stop being lean most of the time, and they start getting a little overhead heavy, maybe heavier than they need to be, right? So, and one of the metrics I'm going to talk about in this episode is dealing with that. Because it's an issue, and to compensate for it, a lot of companies overcompensate, and they make cuts where they probably shouldn't have cut so deep, and to the detriment of not only the employees but the customers as well.
Yes.
So it's when a company focuses on cost cutting as opposed to increasing efficiency and automation, right? So most of the time when a company does that, one of the first places to feel the axe, as it were, would be the customer service department, right?
Which is crazy because
yeah,
That's your customer's point of contact.
Yeah, it is crazy. Kind of ties into our last couple of episodes too, but
I was thinking that our last episode was about human contact with versus like AI.
yeah,
So I feel like that really ties into what we're talking about right now.
yeah. I have a stress ball here.
Why are you stressed?
I'm not.
Okay.
I just like squeezing it. It's a porta potty.
Porta potty.
When I
That's
was
cool.
when I was growing up on the East Coast, there was a company called Blow Brothers, and their slogan, because they were a porta potty company, they were number one and the number two business. So
I love that.
yes, it's a good
That's
one.
great marketing.
Yeah. So shout out to you guys. You had the big blue trucks. So I like you guys. Anyway, so because very limited time here, I'm just gonna rattle through them.
Go
and
for it.
Kat, if stop me if you have any questions.
Okay.
The first metric, KPI, key performance indicator, to really track in your call center is booking rate, right?
Okay.
The amount of calls booked compared to the amount of lead calls, people actually calling in for service, and that you want a high percentage.
Yeah.
Industry standard is about 80 to 85. To me, that's a little trash, but
For the conversion rate?
yeah,
Okay.
for lead calls that come into amount that was booked, right? So that's not all calls, right?
Just leads.
Just leads,
Okay.
right? So, and to get an accurate one on that, you need to have someone be auditing the calls every day.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. I was like, how do you know if it's a lead?
Yeah. So until AI and automation takes over that portion of it, a human being actually has to audit the calls, make sure they're being marked correctly, and lead isn't being marked as like wrong number or
Questions.
questions or something like that, which some people are. Some people find gray areas where there are none, and like they were just asking about the prices.
Mm-hmm.
Questions only. These people are jerks, and they get caught usually within the first couple of days of doing that. So, if you have someone auditing the calls, if you don't have someone auditing the calls, you can have one person that's at 100% booking rate for a year, and they'll get a bunch of praise, they'll get a bunch of awards, and everybody else that's on the floor with them will just be like, uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
We heard your calls, buddy.
Yeah.
So there's that. The next one is the QA score, the quality assurance score, or the call quality score. Right? This is how well they're taking the calls. And usually a high call quality score will correlate with the booking rate. So
And we also have a human who goes
Yeah.
through the calls and scores them as well.
yeah. Yeah. And I know there's AI on that can do that. Right now, the best ones I've seen still use transcripts, which that works if you're checking off boxes. But it doesn't take into account tone or
Yeah.
cadence or anything like that, which is very, very important to the score. So, next one is email capture rate.
Okay.
This is getting the email address, right, from the customer. And you want a 90% or higher on that one. Some people, about 10% usually, maybe a little bit more, depending on the customer base, right, will say, no, I don't have an email. They're lying. It is 2024, and they're calling you on a smartphone. They have an email. Why the email is so important is, one, marketing, right? Two, it's how they're going to get their invoice, estimate, receipt, what have you, right? Not a lot of technicians, no matter what field, are going to have a printer in their car or their van,
Yeah.
right? Some do. More power to them. Most don't. It's important for that. It's also important that for like legal purposes or auditing purposes, compliance, on Service Titan at least, and probably other CRMs as well. I just don't have as much experience with them. You can see when that email was opened.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
if someone calls in and say, "Hey, I never received that estimate, blah 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 complaint," we can literally go in and see, is your email address this?
Because you opened it on this date at this
Exactly.
time. That's
Exactly.
cool.
So what are you talking about? Did you forget? So stuff like that. Now you wouldn't phrase it that way, but you can call them out on their BS a little bit. So there's nothing wrong with that. So far we have what? Booking rate, call quality score, email capture rate.
Email capture.
All right. So next one is I just got a message. Next one is average talk time.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So it's a big one, but you don't want to be
Short.
too short with this one. And I know a lot of companies want them as short as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the more you harp on it, honestly, the worse the calls get. Because people will start rushing people off the phone.
Yeah.
So you want a soft cap on this. Like, there's no reason that a call should be 5, 6, 7 minutes long unless something weird happened on it.
Mm-hmm.
You also don't want the calls to be like 2 minutes long. Right? There's a Goldilocks zone of about 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
So, and it's proven in the data that the people with average handle time or average talk times, I'm not even going to get into handle time, don't have the time to get into both, but average talk time, if they're in the Goldilocks zone of that 3 to 4 minutes, they have a higher booking rate. You can talk customers out of booking if you keep going. I don't know what it is about it, but it's possible.
And like if we're on the phone this long, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I get that.
stuff like that. The next one is occupancy rate. Right, occupancy rate it measures how much time in an hour that a call center agent is helping a customer. Right. So if you take an hour as 100%, 75% of that time should be spent helping a customer.
Mm.
The other 25% is time between calls, catching your breath, getting a drink of water, taking a sip, stuff like that. Breaks are factored into that. So, but you want that at 75%. Anything higher than 75%, your agents are going to burn out. Because there's nothing worse than 100% of the time occupancy, where you don't have time to think between calls, you don't have time to wrap up notes or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, occupancy rate. Anything less than 75%, anything less than 70%, really, because we'll give a little buffer.
Yeah.
Right? Anything less than 70%, you're wasting money. That person is literally just sitting there.
Yeah.
And that might be cool if, like, they're the only person on, like, let's say a Sunday where it's slow or on a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
On every other day of the week, no.
That
No,
makes
they're
sense.
literally a sponge taking in money. Which, good for you if you can afford that. Those are the major ones. There are a lot of other ones that we could get into. Just with the time constraints, we can't. But those are the major ones you would look out for.
Okay.
I'm going to open something right here. Because I have...
And what's the ultimate goal that you get from looking out for those things?
You get a much better customer experience. You get a much better agent experience. And you can actually, brag about your call center.
There you go.
So,
Bragging rights.
Other ones, if you have any kind of, real call center software, right? We use Phones Pro through Service Titan, which is, let's face it, dial pad. Just white labeled on the surface. When you open it up, it's literally dial pad, right? But it can break down into what, where they've marked themselves unavailable, right? And you can set up different categories for that. We have a bio break, which is when they have to run to the bathroom. Their actual break, their lunch, coaching, floor support. If they have to switch over to dispatching, which is inadvisable to have your CSRs be the same people as your dispatchers. Sometimes there's no avoiding it.
Sometimes it happens.
Like time spent on outbound calls.
Oh, I think it's time to go.
Yep. One second. Wrapping up.
So yeah, there's dispatching,
Yep.
and then obviously the calls taken.
Yeah. How many outbound calls they made? Because if they're not taking calls, honestly, they should be making calls. So they're paid to book leads. And as nice as it is to have 20 minutes in between calls of doing nothing, you still have to make revenue goals, right? So, but yeah, you want to look at their total talk time as well, their cancellation rate. Cancellation rate is the jobs they booked that got canceled. Now, you could say, and I've heard it said, and I've said it myself before I knew better, well, the CSR doesn't have any control over that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because once they book it, it's up to the dispatcher, the technician, and all them to deal with it.
Yeah.
However, everything is connected. And if that CSR didn't build up enough rapport, if they didn't build up enough value on the call when they were first booking it, the customer is a little bit less forgiving if the dispatcher has to delay or if the technician is late.
Makes sense.
So, and you can see that the people with a higher cancellation rate have lower call quality scores.
Oh.
So
Everything's connected, guys.
yeah, unfortunately. But you can pull like 3 months of stats at a time, and it really paints a picture. Day by day, it does, but week by week, it does. Month by month, it does. But if you pull an entire quarter, in addition to that, you can see the patterns.
The pattern.
And if you pull a day at a time, you can see the patterns emerging if you know what you're looking for, and those are the things that you're looking for. So, if you want to save money and not burn your people out, which would then waste money because you're hiring more people because those people left, keep an eye on your occupancy rate, right? If there's time between calls, keep it to about 5 minutes or less, right? You don't want it too short, right? Because if it gets to a minute between calls all day, it's kind of annoying.
And tiring, yeah.
You also don't want it back to back. You also don't want like more than 5 minutes between calls because then you're just burning money, right? If it's a slow day, take a portion, whoever's the best at it, of your inbound pool and switch them over to outbound, right? Give them a bonus if they book something, right? Because outbound calls are a lot harder than inbound.
Yeah.
So I would stick to your existing customer base for the outbound calls. It makes it a little easier. Plus, you can recapture some customers that way as well.
And some emails.
And yeah. You get some emails. Get the emails because in all my years doing call center work, which is like 25 years now, which is about older than Kat.
Same age.
Oh, okay. I started my career when you were born. Well, now I just feel awful. But asking for the email was the hardest thing for most people. Because most people don't see the value in it. And it's kind of an awkward question. So, hey, do you have an email?
The best way, I remember when I used to ask for it, because I used to do calls, guys, I would say, can I have an email address for your receipt?
That one works.
Or for your invoice. Sorry. And that was like the easiest one because they always assumed it was for marketing or for like spam emails, but it's like, okay.
Right.
In the future, maybe, but initially it's for your invoice, and that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, I just got paid.
Love that for you.
It popped up on my screen. I for some reason my phone connected to my laptop. So that was cool. But the way that I found to be easiest is not even asking. It is part of a statement, and your email is.
Oh.
Don't upend it like it's a question. Down end it, you know?
Yeah.
Downward inflection, and your email is. And 9.5 times out of 10, they'll give you their email. Just part of the steps.
Because it's like quick.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, get your emails, guys. Track your calls. Track everything that David mentioned. And
there's more.
Maybe next week. Maybe this will be a 2-parter, guys.
Yeah, because
we'll go more into depth.
Not enough time. But, and this honestly could have been an hour episode. I think what we'll do is this will be like the prelude.
Okay.
And then next time we'll do like more in depth, and then after that we'll do KPIs and metrics for the field.
Okay.
So.
Stay tuned, guys.
Yep.
If you guys like this episode, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, make the show grow, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye. Maybe.
All right.